Alright guys, in this video we are bringing up the dreaded word that triggers people everywhere when you talk about nerfing stuff. That's right, I said the word nerf. Oh my goodness, people are going crazy, they're losing their minds. You say the word nerf now and certain people in the Destiny community lose their fucking minds. And it's kind of funny, to be honest. But the truth is, guys, Stasis needs a bunch of changes across the board if PvP is going to survive. I guarantee you the animosity and the kind of off-putting feeling that Stasis has given a lot of people in PvP is not something that's going to go away. People aren't going to all of a sudden magically come to terms with the fact that everything is based on freezing and slowing people now. A lot of people just dislike that. It's not something unique to Destiny. This is something that's always been disliked across basically all FPS games. No one likes crowd control abilities. No one likes being frozen in place because it's obviously a very helpless feeling and you can't really do much to counter it. Now, I'm going to talk about the changes that I think would be, you know, it's not going to remove Stasis from PvP because let's get one thing straight. It's not going anywhere. Like, Stasis isn't going to disappear. They're not going to delete it from the game. It's not going to disappear. It's here to stay. That's pretty much, you know, we can all, you have to accept that. Even if you hate crowd control, if you enjoy the other aspects of Destiny 2 PvP and you still want to play, then you're going to have to accept that Stasis isn't going anywhere. And I personally don't think everything about Stasis is a net negative. I don't feel that way personally. There are certain aspects of it that I think are good, but I do think the bad far outweighs the good. Now, the first subclass we're going to talk about, just to keep people from losing their shit, right? The first thing we're going to actually be talking about is the Behemoth subclass, because obviously when I criticize the most obviously overpowered thing from Stasis, which is the Revenant Hunter, I get so much shit slung my way. Oh, you're just biased against hunters. You never say anything about titans. Like, people, yo, you guys need to get a grip. I'm not a titan in real life. You're not a hunter. I'm just making videos. I'm a PvP guy. I make comments and critiques on the sandbox. Now, if Behemoth Titan was by far the strongest out of the three Stasis subclasses, I would focus more on Behemoth. But I do think the changes to Behemoth are very simple. All you have to do is nerf the super, and that's it. That's the only thing that needs changing with Behemoth is the super. The super is quite obviously, quite blatantly overpowered. It lasts too long, and for some reason it has more damage resistance than any other super in the game, even though it's one of the most mobile supers in the game. That makes no sense. Behemoth should have the same health as other roaming supers like Dawnblade, for example, and it should probably last about a good 5 or 6 seconds less than it currently does. So that's Behemoth done. You nerf the Behemoth super and that's all there is to do. There's nothing really else that needs changing on the subclass. The most powerful ability on the Behemoth, the Cryoclasm Slide, already comes with a 6-second cooldown, so that's already taken care of. There's nothing really much more that needs to be said. Same goes for the Warlock, really. The Warlock, honestly, it's a tricky one. I kind of feel bad for the Warlock now, because obviously it was the most obviously overpowered thing at the beginning. People were running double melee just to double freeze and get free kills. That got nerfed, and I think it's still a great subclass for a defensive player. If you wanna, you know, keep people in check when they're pushing you, that melee is still very strong for that very purpose. And of course there are different abilities where freezing one guy, it will chain to the next and freeze him, so there's definitely some real power there. And of course the super on Shadebinder is very strong. It's a great super. It can pretty much destroy anything in the game, really. If you freeze something and then detonate and explode them, they're basically screwed. You can walk into a bubble, freeze them, and defeat the bubble in an instant. It's a very strong subclass. I think, actually, funny thing, I've been playing bubble a fair bit, and I've noticed in trials and stuff, if I match a Shadebinder, they're kind of scared to come in the bubble, when really they don't need to be scared at all, because once they come in and freeze, that's it. There's nothing you can do, because once they detonate the frozen player, it's over, you're dead. But anyway, hopefully not too many Shadebinders heard me say that. Anyway, moving on to the big chunk of the video that I feel is the one that needs the most attention. That is obviously the Revenant subclass. Now, I made a couple of posts on Twitter last night because basically I went into trials and I was playing Sentinel, and whilst I do think there's a way to counter Stasis on a Sentinel, I think it's kind of, you know, not how you're supposed to play Sentinel. For example, if you look at top tree Sentinel, if you look at the abilities on the Sentinel, 2 of the abilities are focused on meleeing people, which would suggest that Sentinel excels in close range. However, if you now try to play in close range on a non-Stasis subclass, you are in for a world of hurt. They will slow you, they will freeze you, and they will shatter you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It was extremely painful yesterday playing Sentinel and trying to get aggressive. It's basically impossible. A Revenant Hunter like this, I played one dude and this is what he was doing. He was teleporting into my face with Mask of Bakris, and with the aspect on Revenant that slows when you dodge, I wasn't slowed, right? The Sentinel Titan doesn't have a movement ability, so there's basically nothing you can do. You can't sprint, you can't jump, there's nothing you can do. You're slowed. As I'm slowed, he would then come in and shadow dive me, and I would die. And it's a feeling of helplessness that you do not want to experience. Now, I do think on a Sentinel or on any non-Stasis Titan, you can play in the back of the map, and you can keep your distance, and you can team shot, and you can do all of that. But if you're the kind of player like me who does not enjoy standing in the back of the map or using something like Satan's Rampart, but to be fair, if you're using a sniper, Satan's is good, but it's just not my playstyle. Putting a barricade up and standing behind it at a distance is just not something that I enjoy doing, and I don't think a lot of Titan mains probably enjoy playing that way. Not to say that a lot of Titan mains are only close range apes, but when you look at almost every single Titan subclass in the game, all of their abilities are centered around close quarters gameplay, and obviously at the moment with Sentinel, that's pretty much impossible. I was rocking Syntheseps as well, and in the event that I didn't get slowed or frozen, yeah, Syntheseps are still pretty good and you can make pretty good use of it. But if you're playing 3 Revenant Hunters and they're abusing all of the stuff that they have in their arsenal, you're in for a world of hurt. Now, to focus a little bit more on Revenant, so we need to go over everything the Revenant is capable of, because you know, we made a video on Shatter Dive, but I think that was only really scratching the surface with this subclass. I think the toolkit on this subclass is out of this world. It truly is out of this world. Like, I'm going to break it down for you. Here are the things that you can do on Hunter Revenant. So first of all, you've got the Shatter Dive. We did a full video focusing on the Shatter Dive. You can do the following things with Shatter Dive. You can do 50 damage, so you can clean up a shoddy kill. The movement itself is a downward dodge, so it's very good for evasiveness. You can jump up, shadow dive, and immediately dodge. When you dodge, you can reload your gun. You can recharge your melee, which was a slowing shuriken, by the way. 2 of them, in fact. And of course, you can also heal yourself if you're rocking something like Wormhusk Crown. And of course, you can also shatter enemies and insta-kill supers, and of course it has damage resistance, so it can even tank light attacks from supers like Sentinel. And I saw a clip where one guy got hit by a Sentinel super and he immediately shatter dived and he lived and the Sentinel died. Shatter dive is insane. Moving on though, you also have the 2 shurikens. If you hit one, it slows. If you hit the other, they're frozen. Now, this is an incredibly powerful tool. So people say, oh, just bait out the Shatter Dive and the grenade. Say that you do bait out the Glacier Grenade and the Shatter Dive. What do you do when that hunter then throws 2 shurikens at you that slow you and freeze you in place? What do you do then? And especially when they run Whisper of Durance, which obviously increases the effect of slowing abilities, which pretty much any Revenant Hunter will be using that fragment. And when they do that, you're slowed for a really, really long time, and if they hit you again with that knife, you are frozen, guys. You're frozen. You can't move anymore. This is absolutely insane. And it doesn't end there. If you have the aspect, which obviously all the hunters will have, that allows you to slow when dodging, that is another way to slow players. And it makes absolutely 0 sense from a PvP balance perspective. And obviously, no offense to anyone at Bungie, but it looks like they just do not give a shit about PvP balancing. So you can go up to someone and dodge. Right, now let's talk about what dodge can do. We touched on it a little bit earlier in the video. Dodge can basically do a bunch of stuff. It's always been an ability with an extremely high amount of utility. That's not a new thing. So when you dodge, if you have Gambler's Dodge and you dodge near somebody, it will instantly refill your melee charge. If you're rocking something like Wormhusk Crown, it will also heal you at the same time. Now imagine having an ability at the press of a button where you can do all of those things, but not only that, you can now slow your opponent in place so they can't move. Now, if you're dodging against someone in a close quarter situation, you're already at a huge advantage. you've just instantly repositioned on someone, you've broken line of sight, you've dipped back into cover, you've also negated aim assist at the moment of dodging, and on top of all that, your opponent is slowed and now he can't jump, he can't slide, he can't sprint. How much more of an advantage could hunters possibly have with all of these abilities? And with that, I haven't even mentioned Mask of Bakris, which is so incredibly powerful as a teleportation technique. And again, it's a literal teleport that can teleport you anywhere you want to go within a certain amount of distance. You can get into cover, you can get behind someone, you can just lose someone, completely outplay them. And not only that, that guy can't move now because you dodge near him and he's slowed and he can't do anything. So yeah, it's just outrageous. It is frankly outrageous how powerful the Hunter Revenant class is. And now that the meta has settled down and sort of taken time to form, you can truly see that this subclass is far superior to anything else that this game has ever seen. That's not an exaggeration. This shit is OP, guys. OP. Overpowered. Now, what are my solutions to the Hunter Revenant? First of all, now I know you don't want to take things away so that they don't work in PvE, but I do know Bungie has the ability to simply enable and disable certain things depending on what mode you are playing in. So you take the aspect that slows on dodge and you make it so that only affects combatants, i.e. PvE enemies. If you use that aspect in PvP, you shouldn't get the benefit of slowing someone when you dodge near them. That just should not be a thing, guys. That should not be a thing. That needs to go. It's too strong. The double shurikens is incredibly powerful. I'll say leave that as it is. I'd probably say nerf the amount of time you get slowed by though, because it's too much. Certain players, they don't understand or appreciate how much of a free kill it is when you get frozen by a half decent player, or slowed rather, not even frozen, we're talking just slowed. You can't jump, you can't run, you can't do anything for like up to 6 to 7 seconds. In that time, you're just sitting duck, and it's just too powerful. I would also look at the Whisper of Durance fragment and probably nerf that. And of course, the Whisper of Fishes that makes shattering so damaging as well definitely needs to either be nerfed or simply disabled in PvP, in my opinion. And that then would obviously also affect the Behemoth Titans sliding to crystals, which again, you can get kills from stupidly far distances. Granted, it's not as overpowered as Shatter Dive because there's much more setup involved, but it is still too much damage and it's too easy to kill people just by sliding through crystals. So nerfing that Whisper of Fishes would definitely help that. Whisper of Durance as well, either just disable it in PvP or nerf it. I would rather they just disable it, to be honest, and just keep it as it is in PvE, so the PvE guys don't get super mad at the PvP guys. And of course, finally, you would look at the Shatter Dive and you would want to remove the damage resistance from Shatter Dive because that's just frankly ridiculous. And the second thing you would do, and it's really obvious, and I scratch my head to try and understand why it's not already a thing, you add a cooldown to the Shatter Dive ability. Now, if you put all of these changes into effect, I think Stasis is going to be a lot less frustrating for people, because people maybe look at one or two obvious things like getting frozen and shattered, but it's the overall package of what it can do. And when you look at the Hunter Revenant class in particular, it's just got too much going for it, man. It really has too much going for it. And I would suspect it's probably the chief instigator for people just rage quitting this game at the moment. Now, the scrubs who just stack 3 Revenant Hunters in trials, I'm sure they don't care, because they're abusing the life out of it. And when you're the one abusing something, it's not as annoying to you because you're doing it yourself. But if you were to just not run that for a day and put your shoe on the other foot, for example, you would understand why people get so frustrated by Stasis. Now, I was thinking of doing this video in smaller parts, but in the end I decided to just do a full-blown vid just talking about it. I know people get super offended and they lose their minds when you talk about nerfing stuff, but the reality is, if Stasis doesn't get these nerfs, PvP is probably gonna finally die out. It's been hanging on for years, but I'm telling you guys, PvP is like close to kicking the bucket. And I don't know if Bungie realized this or not, but it really is not looking good, man. And as a PvP content creator, that's not good for me. It's not good for you guys. Obviously, you enjoy PvP or you wouldn't be watching my videos. So yeah, hopefully someone at Bungie watches this video and they implement these changes. it's real simple. If you put these changes in, you might have a chance of people actually coming back and playing PvP again. Because right now, with no loot incentives whatsoever in PvP, the only other incentive you have is to either abuse Stasis or be abused by it. And it's gotten old. It's, you know, the honeymoon period been over. Bungie, please fix this shit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.